um, you should have that, and I just lost it. Just a second. Okay, here. So on April 6th, Tuesday, April 6th at 7, Kris is going to do action and motion photography, and that's going to get us ready for the Wild Thing competition topic. And she's going to talk about how to shoot blur, how to shoot sports, how to stop action, and then we're hoping we'll get some chance to practice those skills outside. And then April 20th, Tuesday, April 20th at 7 is just what we were talking about. So anybody would like to share their photos and how they made them, that would be really great. And like everybody will get the 8 minutes that Kris is talking about who wants to do it. And if you don't get a slot, we'll just save everybody for, a next time. We think it's good. April 27th, so we have 3 in April, is attorney Ruth Carter. She's a famous author talking about photo copyrights, intellectual properties, how to get violators, and she busts all the myths about what protects your photos and what doesn't. Like metadata is not a help. Your name on the photos, not a help. It's really interesting. What she had. I paid and took her class, and I contacted her, and she's going to do our club for free. And then we have 2 in May, monochrome conversion techniques that Kris is going to handle on May 4. And on May 25th, we have a fantastic kid, Cameron Darnell. He's 19 years old from South Carolina, talking about bird photography. I took one of his bird photography classes online. He is like, it would be hard for me not to say he's the best teacher I've ever had. And if everybody knows, like, I adore Scott Kelby and Matt Kluskowski. So he was really, really inspiring and knowledgeable and all that. So, and then on May 18th, we have, so there's 3 in May also. We have Lawrence Gaskill is going to do night photography, and not just astrophotography like Larry Kilgore, but other ways you can photograph at night in towns and all of that. So anyway, we've got a lot going on. That schedule got sent out a day ago. So make sure you print it or put it aside or whatever you need to do to save it.
And just a quick note from me. For 4/20/21 and the monochromatic is 5/4/21. If you would like to present on the how it's made or how I shot it, whatever you want to call it, on 4/20, message me and I'll get you on my list. And then for 5/4/21 for the monochromatic, if you would like to share information, because monochromatic doesn't necessarily mean black and white, but there are a bunch of different ways to do black and white. And if you would like to share your process on how you do black and white or your favorite types of monochromatic images, get with me and we'll have you as part of that workshop on 5/4/21.
That's a great idea too, Kris, to have somebody else demo some of theirs.
I'm trying. I get a lot of people who are like, oh, well, I'm kind of busy right now, or I don't want to be responsible for planning the whole thing myself. So I will help you plan it. I will help you make slides. So if anybody wants to present, but you feel a little weird about it, I will help ease that process a little bit for you.
And for those that, I see Dave Livingston's joined us and Mike Koenig. And so we're also looking for topics for competitions and for other workshops. Kris and I got board approval to go ahead and schedule next season, which starts in September. So because it takes a long time to get some of these people organized and to give club members time to put a presentation together. So, so if you have topics, you can
let us know. We'll work it in there.
Are we at speakers@fwphotoclub.com? I think we are. Speakers with a plural at www.photoclub.com. I'm going to try it right now and see if it works, Kris, if we get that email. I think that's what our email is. Okay, take it away, Kris. No.
Okay, so tonight's topic is self-portraits. So I'm going to go ahead and start this presentation. And if you have questions along the way or something to add, jump right in there. I do not mind at all. Put this over to the side. Sorry, notebook. I'm a compulsive note taker. Okay, so self-portraits. That is the topic for tonight, and the PDF for this is listed on the members page under files. So just under the main name of the group, the members page, actual paid members page, there are a bunch of things along the way. Give me just a second. I'm just going to pull over the members page and just show you and make sure everybody knows where they can access this information afterward. So this is the members page, and it's here at the end of the line, files. So there's events, where you can see all the workshops in chronological order. And then here we have a bunch of files, and I've been uploading the slides from the workshops and then any accompanying PDFs. I know the macro workshop, we had a lot of learning links and shopping links afterward. And so I made separate plain PDFs of those. And then there was also the slides PDF. And just so you know, if you download the PDF of the Google Slides, if there's a YouTube video embedded, if you click on it, it will open in another browser window and play for you, which is really cool. So let me get rid of that. We'll go back into presentation mode. Just a quick reminder, we are doing self-portraits tonight because as of April 1st, 2021, images are due for the self-portraits competition. So get busy thinking after tonight and get something created and get it entered into competition for self-portraits. So hopefully we come up with some really good ideas and people will submit some. So the first thing that I wanted to go through was just talking to you about a basic inventory, how you can use your interests or personality as a base for your ideas to create a self-portrait. And I don't have to read every single thing to you, but figuring out your personality and what you want to convey. Are you introverted? Are you extroverted? What ideas do you have to illustrate your personality? If you have two cameras, you can use one of them to take a photo of you holding the other camera. So not all of us have two cameras, but that's definitely an option. If you have any hobbies that you want to show, I think it's really interesting to see what people in the club do outside of the photo club, what other interests they have. So that would be kind of cool to show other hobbies you have or things that you enjoy. So not necessarily holding a camera. It doesn't have to be that. Other ideas you can use for inspiration if you have, favorite book passage, poem, song, lyrics, something that really resonates with you, that you feel has a deeper meaning to you. That's interesting. And then just some logistics of what's involved. What kind of space do you need? What kind of lens should you use? And how is that going to influence the portrait? Is it going to be wide angle and show your entire body? Is it going to be medium length and show upper body only? Or is it going to be a close-up? And we're going to take some look at some examples of self-portraits here in a little bit. Lighting needed, natural or with flash. It's dead simple to do it with natural light. So we're going to talk a little bit about using natural light and how to make that a little bit more interesting and looking for a location within your home. There is an image over here to the side, finding a nice window and a simple area behind you, or an area where whatever is more involved or has a lot of detail is way far in the background. So the focus can just be on you. So you're going to look for a simple area inside your home or where any areas of detail are way in the background. So along a long wall or something like that. And you don't
Just
necessarily
a
have
question real quick, Kris. So
Yeah.
in this setup, is the reflector behind you?
Yeah, in this setup, the reflector is to the side. So there's a stool, there's a window light coming in from camera left.
Is the person being photographed facing us here and outside? They're not facing the window or the reflector, they're facing out?
You could be either way.
I just was wondering where the camera is. The camera.
Yeah, so the camera would be like back here.
Got it.
Up on a tripod and shooting in this way, whoops, toward the person on the stool. And you can turn your face toward the window. You can look directly at the camera. Now, if you're looking directly at the camera, that light's going to be just maybe on the side of your face. So that's why you can bring in a reflector. If there's too much shadow, you can bring in a reflector. And we're going to talk about reflectors here in a little bit. You don't have to have a fancy reflector if you don't own some of those things. If you're more of a landscape person instead of portraits and you're like, I don't carry that stuff with me. There are other things you can use from around the house that will achieve the same effect. So whether you want to use your home or do you want to go to a favorite location here in town, whether that's inside or outside, do you have a favorite place that you like to go here in town, the outside or the side wall of a favorite restaurant or a favorite park. So something that really screams you, that really illustrates you as a person. Focal length, going back to that, do you have the length of lens that you want to use, or do you need to get with someone and team up, someone who shoots the same camera system as you and share lenses back and forth so you can achieve what you want to do. The angle, are you going to shoot right at face level, or are you going to shoot from above or shoot from down below, and how does that affect the feel of the image? We're going to take a look at some different images and think about how that influences things. I know for me, I have a really full face and I feel like I have cheeks, big cheeks. So if you have a wide face or if you have a full face, you may want to shoot at an angle or shoot from above. I know women, like, I'm very self-conscious. I don't want to do a profile and see any of this business. Once you get into your 50s or so, we don't show the turkey neck. So, so just thinking about if you're self-conscious at all about certain things, to make sure that you feel like you're showing yourself in your best way. So I don't have any kind of like real pronounced bump to my nose, but some people have different things that they're self-conscious about. I have a real super high forehead. So if I did a profile shot, I don't want to show my whole forehead. I have like extra. So I know if I was taking a shot of my face that there are certain ways I would want to show myself. Whether or not you have a tripod, if you're a landscape person and you don't really ever use a tripod, you may need to make some plans to borrow some stuff, to borrow a tripod for the weekend from somebody. Also, it's really good to know how to use the self-timer function on your camera, which can give you 2 seconds, 10 seconds. Can you get into position in that amount of time or no? So that may factor into what pose you're going to do or how you're going to show yourself on camera as to whether or not you can get there in 10 seconds. Shutter release cable, you can get a third-party shutter release cable. I have one that's like 15 feet long. It has like an extension portion on it. I've got some ideas cooking where I plan to hit the shutter release cable with my toe because I can't get into position in 10 seconds. I was thinking about taking a photo of myself with my cello, and I can't go sit down and pick that thing up and hold everything properly in 10 seconds. So I think I'm going to lay the shutter release cable on the ground with that big long cable and hit it with my toe. Bloop. So sometimes you have to think ahead a little bit. And then whether or not you have a reflector, it's going to be listed elsewhere in the PDF, but cheap ways that you can use a reflector would be a poster board, a foam core board or a car sun reflector that pops open and you put in your windshield to keep the sun out. Those work great. You can prop it up on a chair, prop it up on a stool. You can duct tape it to a stool or the back of a chair, just around the edges. So nobody's going to see it off camera, so no one will ever know that you duct taped it. Or you can duct tape it to a wall or something. And just pull it down when you're done. So one of the things that I think is important as creatives for us to think about doing is to do what's called a brain dump or a mind map. I'm going to show you some visual examples of what that looks like here in a second. Just so you can get things out of your head and down on paper. So Teresa is chatting, set your camera to take several photos, then your first shot may not be your best. Yes, Nikon will take at least 9. Yep, very good point, Teresa. Excellent. Yeah, your first shot is not always your best, especially when you're feeling self-conscious. I myself hate to be in photos. It's really difficult for me. So I'm very behind the scenes. So the thought of doing a self-portrait is a little scary to me, but I'm going to do it. So a brain dump or a mind map, a brain dump is just a rambling list. And then a mind map is where you actually start to draw connections between things. And if it's a new idea, you put it off by itself. And if there are things related to it, you surround it with little things. And you'll see that here in a second. Google image searches, Pinterest boards. We're going to take a look at Pinterest here in a second and make sure everybody understands how to use Pinterest. If you've used Pinterest, give me a wave or say hello or chat. If you've used Pinterest, Brenda's used Pinterest, Jim. Charm uses Pinterest. Okay, good. Some chat from people. Pinterest is free. So if you've never used Pinterest, Danielle says, yes, she's used Pinterest. So don't forget about using Pinterest. I know Pinterest, you can go down like a craft rabbit hole with Pinterest. And it can be that way a little bit with photo ideas too. But there's just, Teresa says, oh yeah. But Pinterest is a wonderful tool. And you can get a plugin to pin things right from your browser. So like I use Chrome on my Windows computer. I have a plugin on Chrome that allows me to pin things. And so I'll show you how I do that from a Google Images search. And I see things that I like and I just pin it right from my browser. So, and that's called a Chrome extension for Pinterest. So if you're taking notes, that's probably one you want to write down because I didn't mention that here with just showing Pinterest. So Chrome extension for Pinterest or whatever other browser you use to make it easier to pin things. So, or you can create swipe file folders on your computer. One of the things I ran into saving things was that images are not always as a JPEG file format. Sometimes they're a PNG or they have Pinterest saving disabled for their image. So you go to save it and it'll try to save the entire web page. So sometimes you'll have to do a screenshot and then crop it later if you want to save it to your computer. But Pinterest is great because it doesn't save up space on your computer. So, and you can save multiple Pinterest boards and start from one Pinterest board and then make another one that's like a drilled down version of the topic you're interested in. You can make another board and save the same pinned photo to another board. So you could have self-portraits and then you could have self-portraits with mirrors as another one and pin it to that board also. So that's kind of cool. Swipe files are good. YouTube searches and photography books at the library. There's a ton of stuff that you can do. So we're going to go on to the next. Oops, there we go. This is what a brain dump is like. It's exactly what it sounds like. You just get some paper and you start writing. So get the information out of your brain onto paper. And then once you have it on paper, go down the list multiple times and start looking for whether or not there are items that you can group together or if there are any themes in there. So you could just start listing all your hobbies, or you could start listing all your favorite places in town and try to figure out, okay, is there any kind of photography technique or type of image that I could do with this? Like for me, I would start writing down music and instruments and some of my favorite places in town. My favorite park is Foster Park. So here, keep a notebook for your ideas. And I've just recently started doing this. I have a binder that I keep just for the photo club to write things down with different sections, but I think I'm going to take a smaller notebook out with me because when I'm out and about, I might, stop in the middle of doing macro photography out at Foster Park, and I might write down an idea that I have. So something small that I could throw in my backpack to write things down when inspiration strikes. Go back here. So a brain dump or a mind map can be your most important tool when planning new photography ideas, because it gets things from rattling around in your brain out on paper, and you start seeing connections a little bit easier. So especially as visually creative people, having a visual way to see those ideas is really helpful. This is what a mind map looks like. And you don't have to use colors or anything. And yours might be straight lines, or you might be one of those wild creative types that has wavy creative lines all over the place. Or you might be the engineering type creative that has straight lines and that sort of thing. But the gist of it is you start off with a topic. So self-portraits here in the middle, and then you put hobbies, and then you list all your hobbies and put lines that connect to hobbies, and favorite places. And then you put lines over here, all your favorite places in town, and just start thinking of different things that you could do for your self-portraits. So a couple of example images here. Mirrors is going to be your easiest way to get a self-portrait as a photographer. And I know we've all done these. I actually ran into some mirror self-portraits for photographers that were really old when I started doing Google image searches. And this has been a thing for the longest time, that, photographers with big, large format cameras would take a picture of themselves in a mirror. So since a long, long time ago, photographers have been doing this. So think about all the mirrored or reflective surfaces that you have in your life, small makeup mirrors to big hallway mirrors, or like a coat closet or linen closet in your home, side window of your car. Here's like a big floor mirror type thing that stands up, so really big from across the room. This curved reflective side mirror on a bus or on a great big truck. So that's another one. I'm going to scroll down through the chat and make sure I'm just keeping an eye on that people are, see if anybody's mentioning anything. This is like a great big mirror. I don't even know where you find a mirror that shape and that big, but this was really interesting from above, and it's reflecting the sky. I thought that was really cool. This is like a security mirror in a store, those curved ones where they can see around the corner and kind of see what people are doing. I have a whole collection of reflection pictures of me taken reflection self-portrait or shot of myself in like the reflective Christmas ball decorations or hubcaps, or because, it's silly. And then like your hands are great big and your nose is really big, depending on how curved it is. The closer you get, the more exaggerated it is. So a broken mirror, I'm not superstitious, so I would have no trouble using a broken mirror. If I don't really have a mirror that large here at home, but besides my bathroom mirror, but I don't believe in superstition. So I think the broken mirror image is really cool. This one was really interesting in that the camera was off to the side, and, the person standing there, but they let the camera focus from the side, so you don't actually see the photographer holding the camera. So it's kind of from a different angle. And this one from above was interesting. So dramatic light.
Chris Sharm is asking how you focus on yourself.
How would you focus on yourself? Well, I would put the mirror up there, and I would probably go ahead and focus on the edge of the mirror and just pick an aperture that was deep enough that I know, like, the whatever surface that mirror was sitting on or the wall, that was all going to be in focus. So I'd probably take a picture of the mirror first and zoom in, and make sure that that whole wall there with the mirror was going to be in focus. And then once you did the autofocus, I would probably flip it to switch to manual focus. And then when the camera goes off, like you do self timer or whatever, that focus is locked in. It's not going to try to refocus. So you can do autofocus first, zoom in and check it, and then switch it to manual focus so the camera doesn't change the focus point. That's what I would do. Anybody else have an idea? That was a good question.
The actual distance from your face, or from the camera to the mirror to you, is additive. It's not focusing on the mirror. It's going to get you sharp. It's the cumulative distance from the camera to the mirror and then reflecting back.
Oh, true. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Good point. Good point.
See that picture of the girl in the car mirror on the top, just right of center? The mirror frame itself is not in focus.
Right, right.
That's a good example of it. And actually on the far right on the top, the woman in the round mirror, the mirror itself, the frame of the mirror is not in focus, but she is. So
yeah.
It's a cumulative distance down and back is what you're actually.
Camera shy me has never taken a picture of myself in a mirror. So I didn't even think of that, but that's a really excellent point. Yeah. Yeah. So what would you do to make sure that you were in focus then, Jim?
Well, for that example of the girl in the car using the side mirror, it'd be easy to focus on yourself.
Right.
And then lower the camera off your face so that you can see your face in the reflection in the mirror. Same with some of the others. The one that's on the bottom, just left of a center, where you see the woman's face. Yes, that one. That's a very soft focus, and that's probably intentional then also. But
what about this one, like with the mirror?
Which one are you looking at? I'm sorry.
The one with the cat.
All right. Well, you may. Well. Something that you could do, if that's the exact position that you wanted it to be in, is get the camera off the tripod, leave the tripod there.
Right.
Bring the camera with you to the position that you want to be in, like right there, and then focus in the mirror, or through the mirror, on the tripod. Make sure the tripod is sharp. And then put the camera back on the tripod, and then you've got your mark where you're going to go, after you set the camera timer, or you've got a hand.
Or use a stand-in of some sort to manually focus it. Yeah, you could do that too.
Yep.
Good idea, actually. Keep something there and focus on it.
Broomstick with your coat on it or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Thank you.
Leaning up against a chair, maybe. Yeah, good points. Good points. Okay. All right. So examples, moving on. So reflections, another way to easily get yourself in a photo is reflection in a window, reflections in sunglasses. If you have any kind of lawn ornaments or one of those little glass sphere things. I see ads for those on Facebook all the time. It's like every photographer doodad, Facebook knows. I will stop and look at it and click on it. They send me ads for those all the time. This one I thought this was really fun with the glass of water. Having the reflection in the window, reflection in a rain puddle, and especially flipping that upside down. That's always fun. Reflection in a table. So reflections another great way. And then, you know, mentioning hubcaps, Christmas ornaments. If you have a really reflective Christmas ornament, you could use that if you wanted to. Anything shiny or reflective. Window light, also pretty easy. That's kind of, we started out talking about window light. Now, how your face is turned toward window light, I tried to choose some different examples, and then a couple of these that were a little bit more creative. So a simple one where the light is coming in and you're showing the side of your face. So you can think about, you know, when you're trying to think of how you want to set this up, you want to look at example images and look at where the light is coming from, the angle that the camera is to the light source, and where you think you would set up your camera and tripod in that setting. Yeah, Vivian Meyer, Teresa. Yeah, exactly. Lots of window reflections. And it might be fun to, you know, get a reflection of yourself in the window of a favorite store, favorite restaurant, something like that as well. So you kind of get a twofer with that. So here, this is window light, but the actual window isn't showing. It's just the window light coming in. So when you're using window light, you want to look for, if you want soft light, you're looking for a north or south facing window. So east and west are going to be more direct light. It's going to be stronger. And north and south is going to be more indirect soft light. And then do you want to just use the window itself, or do you need to soften it a little bit? If you have an east or west window that works really well for a location within your home and you have a lot of room to work, but the light is more direct, what time of day is the light a little bit softer? Take a look at that. And can you soften it with curtains or a sheet or a piece of lace or blinds? So down here, you've got the light shining through the blinds. I thought that was really interesting with the lines and the patterns on the guy down there. Couple of these where you see the effect of the window light, but you don't see the window itself. That's really cool. A great big window, if you've got really tall windows, an older house, or maybe a window at your church, that would be cool to be able to get full body, like sitting on some stairs or next to a big window, or the colors from a stained glass window would be really beautiful. I love to take pictures of stained glass windows every time I'm doing weddings in a church. Here's another one. If the windowsill is big enough that you can sit there, you can get right up close to the window. It's really nice. Or if it's high enough that you can sit and kind of lean over on it, that's this situation. Here's another one looking out the window. I thought window portraits were particularly good because we've all been doing so much staying inside and staying at home this year that I thought window portraits would be very indicative of, I don't know if that's the right word, but very representative of how we've all spent our past year. A little slice of light shining through. You might look at closing the curtains and letting just one slice of light through. And how does that look on you? You may need to go get a mirror so you can see what it looks like, what the light looks like on you. So you get an idea of what it looks like before you actually set up to photograph there. Here's some light shining through lace. That's really interesting. If you don't have a lace curtain, try a lace tablecloth. It doesn't even have to be like real fabric lace. My mother-in-law's in her 80s and she has a plastic lace tablecloth on her dining room table. So, but if the light's shining through it, nobody's going to know the difference anyway. So, and this one here is more dark and moody. So I thought that was interesting to show that it doesn't have to be bright and airy. It can be that dark and moody look. So that was interesting. There's also a lot of negative space used here. So I really liked this one. I enjoyed this one. It's interesting. So looking for locations within your home, what time of day is best, what direction does the window face, how strong is the light. Do you need to filter the light in any way with a curtain or a sheet or a tablecloth? And could you make any kind of patterns with blinds or a tablecloth or lace at all? That could be really interesting. How does the light change at that location throughout the day? And then turning your face toward the light in different ways. If you want to see how that looks, you might want to use a mirror across from you so you can kind of get an idea of how it looks on your face, or have someone else be a stand-in for you and see how it looks on them. Creative images, and I'm sure that, you know, we'll find a lot more images across the internet, but these are some that got my attention as I was looking, where you, like this one in the top corner, you would shoot 2 images and then do, you can do a layer mask or erase to make it look like it's empty there in the mirror, or a picture frame or whatever. So shoot a plate image without you there, and then do another one in the exact same spot. Again, tripod, because you want to keep everything all lined up. Using prisms. I love shooting through prisms and little chandelier thingies, or glasses, and letting the light shine through a glass. That's really fun to do in front of your lens, or shine a light through something like that. Outdoors. I read an article about dressing as a character from your favorite book and doing a self-portrait. So that was interesting. That would make me a hobbit. Here's one with the image holding a lens. So Brenda showed one of those at the very, very beginning, I think, before we started recording. But those are really fun. More fine art, interesting type of stuff here. I really loved this. I love levitation images anyway, but definitely a way to bring in a couple different techniques into a self-portrait. Reaching into the fridge. I brought that in there just because my favorite joke with all this COVID stuff is COVID-19 is the minimum number of pounds you gain from comfort food during all this mess. So I'm this close to not allowing ice cream in the house anymore. So other silly things, a self-portrait doesn't always have to show your face. So that's another thing that we should keep in mind. And it can show your personality a little bit. If you're a jokester or you like really funny stuff. I always think of Larry Kilgore's puns that he posts on Facebook all the time. And so I would expect to hear something or see something funny from him for a self-portrait, because that's just how I think of him, is all of his dad jokes and puns. Teresa says Charm says she can see Teresa doing the last pick on the page, and Teresa has tons of floating photos. Yeah, so we can talk about those. We'll get through this real quick and we'll go back and talk about some techniques and how to achieve some of these and some ideas that we have. This one was really interesting. I like the showing motion. That was interesting. Something that has a topic. I definitely want to know the story behind this photo. That's really looks very engaging and deep. So interesting. So just maybe in that brain dump or that mind map, list out things that are unique or funny about you or your interests, things that you like Larry. I can see that he has, he would have puns and jokes that he likes. Or are there any specific photographic concepts that you've always wanted to try? And how can you marry that with a hobby that you have, or an interest, or something about your personality that you want to show? And that can help you brainstorm and come up with an idea. Multiple exposures is another thing. If you've never tried messing with multiple exposures, reaching out and trying a different technique that you've never done before and combining that with a self-portrait can maybe push you a little bit and get you interested in something a little bit more creatively. So, and if you don't have multiple exposures built in, you can do it in editing, layering photos on top of each other. So that's something to think about. This is a quick video that just talks about self-portraits. I don't know if you guys are aware of this guy's channel. Ted Forbes has a background in art history and worked for a gallery in Dallas, and then he moved, and so he's doing this whole YouTube thing, and he's been on YouTube like forever. So I love watching his channel. It's called The Art of Photography. And this is the first video on the YouTube playlist that I made for everybody, where he just talks about self-portraits through the years with famous photographers. And so I thought it was a good introduction to self-portraits and kind of getting those creative juices flowing. So we don't have to watch that whole thing now. When you get the PDF, in the actual PDF, if you click on this thumbnail on the screen here, it will open another window and play for you. And it's also the very first video in the playlist that I made. And there's a link to the entire playlist.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the show.
There we go. Learning links. I made a list for you. Here's a link to the Pinterest board I made, and you can repin any of the images. I'll pull those up here in a second. The YouTube playlist with some videos about self-portraits. And then I found a bunch of articles with tips for cheap ways to do self-portraits at home, creative ways to use window light, creative ideas for photographers to do self-portraits. So yeah, let's, oh, and then shopping links. I had one item was recommending a reflector to people. If you don't already own a reflector, you know, if you're primarily like a landscape and nature type of person, you probably wouldn't use a reflector a lot. So you could use a piece of foam board, a poster board, a car window sun reflector, something like that. Even hang a white sheet, tape a white sheet to the wall. If you're in a hallway and the wall is dark and you need to reflect light, think about how you can control light or bounce it around. And just do things in an inexpensive way. So you don't have to necessarily buy things just to do this project. But if you do portraits at all, a reflector is a super handy thing to have. So I do have an Amazon wish list thing here that just has the one reflector on it, a 43-inch reflector. Actually, I think it's like 2 feet by 3 feet. And then Hunt's, I took a look, and Hunt's does sell reflectors as well. They have some different sizes and options available that are a little bit more professional than the cheap one that's on Amazon. So I thought that we could go back and have some people chime in of some interests that they have or some ideas that they have for a self-portrait of themselves. Anybody here have some ideas floating around thus far?
I can go ahead and talk. I do have 2 cameras.
Okay.
Gonna have to check the battery in camera 2. It's been sitting for a while. But so I think what I'm gonna do is set up, you know, my good camera on the tripod and put me somewhere holding the second camera. And as I mentioned to you early when we got on, is that, you know, we have some great sunsets here in Florida. So I might shoot a photo of a sunset and then shoot a photo of me with some better light and layer that way.
Okay. So, and why a sunset? That's like just something that you love?
It just would be pretty, you know. I mean, it's where, you know, where I am, we have, you know, a dock, and, you know, I can be out on the dock. We got 2 docks kind of side by side, so I can have the tripod on one. Just gives a nicer environment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more environmental instead of all about me, like, as opposed to those photos that's just the person. Like, I get to hide a little bit with things more attractive than me.
Okay. Well, and then are you thinking just kind of medium in the shot?
Yeah, like not unlike what you're seeing with me right now, you know, with like in front of the scene or something.
Okay. Anybody else? Any ideas? I know Teresa said she has done lots of floating photos.
Yeah.
I would love to see a floating Teresa.
Yeah, I think that idea is awesome. I'd love to do floating or have Teresa take photos of.
So Teresa, tell us, if you wouldn't mind, tell us a little bit about levitation photography and the process of that.
Well, I have 4 dogs in my house, so at any moment there could be a lot of barking happening.
Okay.
Quite honestly, I'm kind of tired of them. Like, people have been doing them and they can look really like, what's the reason that person is floating? You know, like they can look really out of place or not necessary, but they can be really, really fun and really cool. So again, imperative to have a tripod, have an idea. If you're floating, in my opinion, things need to show motion. So I like to make sure that your hair is flipping. If you have fabric, that your fabric is moving. So, you know, if there's a big thing, and I absolutely love flowing fabric in photos. I constantly throw fabric.
Kind of flip it with your hands in the air like a person out of frame.
And again, I'll go click, 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 click instead of just one click. But again, I also don't use studio lights much.
Gotcha.
So that makes it easier to do a whole bunch of clicks.
Okay.
With hair, throw hair a lot. So let's say you're going to be floating over, maybe Brenda, you're floating into your sunset. So there's dogs. Take a stool and balance yourself in, in a way that you like the way your legs are. Balance yourself in the way that you like your upper body, and then you can Photoshop all those pieces together. And always take a photo with no stool and nothing, so that you can easily erase the stool in a layer. And it's actually pretty quick and easy.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that, you know, as you were going through and listing things off, if you've never done that or never done a quote unquote plate shot and then erased the item that you want to be gone,
right?
It sounds like it's a lot of stuff to do in Photoshop, but it's not too bad.
It's really not hard.
I do that to get rid of light stands for weddings. I set up the tripod and when I have to have the light stand close to people. So yeah, I've never done a levitation shot, but you've inspired me, Teresa. That sounds good, but have a reason for flying. Got it.
Yeah.
I did a self-portrait quite a few years ago, and everybody's always telling me I look like Meryl Streep. So I had a picture of Meryl Streep I took off the internet, and then I put my face, kind of merged them.
Oh,
that was kind of fun. That turned out kind of good. And I did another one once of my hand, my open hand, and then I had the back of my hand. I was holding it like.
I haven't seen those before, Sue. That'd be cool to see.
Haven't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take a second and interject here to encourage everyone to post on the event page. On the actual members group, if you go to events, you can see 3/16/21 and see the event for the workshop. And if we could do our discussion there, it'll save it all together so we can always go back and see what people talked about related to this topic, all grouped together. Does that make sense to everybody to go to the event page and then post your discussion? Yeah. That way it's saved for anybody who couldn't make it tonight. All of that discussion is there together. So I'll post some links on there to the Pinterest board, to the YouTube playlist, and then comments. And like Sue, if you want to share your hand picture, and then Teresa share maybe a levitation photo or two, so people can kind of see what you've done in the past with that, that would be really cool. And then they're all grouped together. Anybody else? Ideas? What about bringing in some of your interests that you have I know we had talked about, maybe taking a picture of yourself with your camera, but what about other interests that you have outside of photography, other hobbies that you have, or?
I have a couple of questions. It wasn't Bernadette, who did the person that's like that with the hands over the face that we had in our, it was a novice photographer that did the hands over the face that you're seeing in that top row of your self-portraits there?
She was with the husband and wife team that are both in novice, and the name escapes me at the moment, but
Yes, Paula, it's not Schenkel, Schmiedel, thank you. Yeah, so she did the similar one to that black and sepia one up at the top with the hands over the face.
Yeah.
And then Teresa can maybe answer this. On the top row, the far right, it's the person, it looks like they're floating in a car. It's kind of a small photo. It's a little hard to tell. Sorry, floating in a chair. So,
Oh yeah, this Pinterest board stuff, yeah.
So that's just photographing yourself in a chair with a neutral background. Can you just click on it to make it big? Is that possible? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's just clicking on somebody, just photographing yourself in a chair with an easy subject, like a neutral background, so it's easy to cut. And then they just added things that made the flying make more sense.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
Like the balloons are carrying her, and she has it looks like she's got some interesting expression on it. It's a little hard to tell. And
yeah,
birds add to that. And what is the thing on the bottom of the photo?
This is like a house. Roof, yeah.
Oh, it's yeah. So then a roof.
And I think her balloons are actually bubbles. I think that's really cute.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Okay, great.
Kris, I have a question. Would like to
Yes.
Where's the photo? Okay, the one in the center, the guy with in a green sweater. He's like in a globe.
Well, globe.
To the right.
Oh, green sweater globe. Okay. Yeah, that looks like a metal sphere, or it might be a metal sphere, but that looks awfully clear. It almost looks like he photoshopped that somehow and like warped it around.
well, there's no camera in it.
Yeah.
So
there's no camera.
Yeah, so it's like, how did he had to have warped that in there? I love looking at stuff and trying to figure out how it was done.
I had one similar, and I used a 300 millimeter lens across the room, kind of hit the camera. And we are, for like a family Christmas picture, we had our picture in a Christmas ornament. So it was something similar, but that's one way to think about it, I guess. But we wouldn't be holding it like that.
Mm-hmm.
He could have easily photoshopped the camera. I don't know. It's really clear.
Okay, let me go back. Other ideas. I like some of these that, don't necessarily show your whole face. I think those are interesting. It's just kind of a passing glance type of look. This one was interesting, and not the whole thing is in focus either. It's just a very little sliver of focus as well. And this isn't centered either. So it's just kind of all kinds of different. I thought that was really interesting and off the beaten path. And then, some of these that it was like a little collage effect of different expressions or different looks. Interesting. On this arm's length photo, I have a whole collection of those. It's usually me with a cell phone, and I can never be serious in those. They're always silly. This one made me think of Teresa with all the books. So I really liked that. And that she's got like a pile of books on her lap, not just one, like a whole pile on her lap. That was really nice. Is there any particular, Teresa, she does love books. Yeah, immediately that image screamed Teresa to me. This one I pulled from an article that I found online, Lady with the Cello. So I saw that and I was thinking about how I could photograph myself with one of my instruments. And okay, I don't think that I can do that in 10 seconds with a self timer. I can't get back there and sit down and pick it up and hold it and do all the things. You know, even if I don't have anything else going off with lighting and if it's just natural light, I don't think I can get there in 10 seconds. So I'm trying to figure out how I could use maybe a wide angle lens so I could photograph all of me and still have my shutter release cable within range that I could click it with my toe. Because I've got like 15 feet of cable.
Look in your menu and look at your, because I'm telling you, because I use myself in a lot of my photos because you know, it's not easy to find. And that's what I mean. Like I can set mine up to, I push the shutter one time and it'll take 9 photos.
Oh yeah. I could do like I could set it up to do like a time lapse and it'll just shoot multiple photos. It'll keep going. I could do that.
I don't even do the time lapse thing. It'll just do somewhere in my menu. I mean, and I know you
so
do
many photos in a row. Yeah.
But yeah, it'll go click and it gives you, I can even choose how many seconds between each exposure.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like the first 1 or 2 are me running back to where I'm going to be.
Yeah.
And then you get a position.
Same concept, just using it a different way. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, there's Larry right there. Different Larry.
Does your camera let you use your phone as a shutter release?
That's a good idea.
And then you could have your phone just behind the cello on your lap.
Yeah, on my knee. And that could do self timer. Because once I could go in self timer mode, but my phone is controlling it. That's a good idea. Absolutely. I like that too. Probably the first picture is not going to be, I'm going to look silly. So have a weird look on my face. So, you know, multiple photos I think are going to be necessary to get it right. Especially if it's holding an instrument, I'm going to nitpick it to death if I'm not doing everything just right, because I'll be able to tell.
Well, I think everybody's going to need to take multiple photos. It's going to be trial and error trying to get yourself in focus, right? And
now I know for me, taking a picture inside my house is going to be really challenging because we have an older home and the windows aren't huge. And it's very segmented with smaller rooms. So like here in the office, there's 2 windows, but my husband's desk is right up against the window. And then in the living room, we've got a big sectional couch in front of the windows. So like, if I want to use my windows at the front of the house, I have to like take apart the couch and move the whole couch out of the way. So I'm thinking outdoors for me, but yeah, anybody else coming up with ideas or want to discuss a particular editing technique or concept? I'm going to scroll down here through some more of these.
So if I wanted to get myself bicycling and, you know, maybe have it blurry, I mean, you just would have to like measure, for example, the middle of the road and focus on something, park the bike in the middle of the road, focus there, and then make sure you hit that mark so that you have it the way you want it. Yeah,
if you want you like zooming through in motion.
Well, I mean, even
Probably.
if you wanted it, yeah, because you don't want it just I mean, if I wanted it just crisp, I could put the kickstand down, right? And,
Right.
you know, and take it and then skew it a little bit to make it upright instead of leaning a little.
Or you
But
could
yeah, I mean,
do,
if you
do
did
a long
some motion,
exposure and just kind of cycle through. So you just
and
get a
just,
blur of you going through.
well, you still need to have something in focus so that, you know, like a good long exposure, something's in focus.
Right.
So, and you'd certainly want that if you're calling it a self-portrait as opposed to a long exposure. And I was thinking about also kayaking. It's really hard to be, where are you going to be that it will actually be, you know, that you can get the focus right. What were you going to say, Teresa?
I'm going to say you could, if you wanted to do the bike, you could, so that you're sharp, obviously camera on a tripod, take an exposure with 1 foot on the ground and 1 foot on your pedal, and then switch feet. And then in Photoshop, you can erase the one with your foot on the ground, you know, so you have both. And also take another bunch of photos of you riding, and you can make that sort of transparent and sort of moving, and then blend it with the photo of you in total sharp focus. You know, just leave your tripod and your camera where it is and just keep writing and writing and writing, and, you know, take pictures until you like the position that you're in. But I don't know, just brainstorming with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, those are.
Yeah, those are good ideas.
Great, yeah, that you understand all that.
I like that idea of using the camera takes a photo you set it for how many photos you want it to take and how many seconds between, set the exposure and the focus, and then just try it a bunch of different times.
Yeah. Just keep writing around the circle of your camera and have it set to take a picture every 15 seconds and just really ride fast, something like that. And honestly,
Brian,
there's no shame in doing all your camera settings, everything set up, and have another person push the shutter. I've done that also. You know, they're not the photographer, they're just a human
Shutter release. Yeah.
Shutter release.
Brian just joined us, so he might have some ideas for us.
Yeah. Oh,
Brian,
and Wolf is here too.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So we're at the brainstorming section of the evening. Brian and Wolf just joining us here. So we've gone through the presentation, but that's all recorded for you. And now we're looking at some Pinterest examples and talking about different concepts and how we could achieve those. So Teresa is of the mindset that if you're going to do levitation photography, you need to have a reason for being up in the air and show motion, which I like. And we were talking about different settings on your camera to catch yourself in action. So the setting where your camera takes multiple photos at a time. So if your camera doesn't have that function, that's called an intervalometer. And you can get a remote that does that if you don't have the setting on your camera.
I know one that I always wanted to try, and I just have not sat down and tried it yet, is the double exposure photos.
Yes.
I really want to try one of those, and I just haven't done it. I need to do it.
So double exposure, there's a couple of them here. This one would be, some cameras can do it in camera, and then you can also do it in editing. If you do it in editing, I think you have a little bit more flexibility over using your different blend modes to achieve the exact effect you want. But you could do like a really super bright window and do a silhouette, and then have a second image that was taken somewhere else, even in different lighting, and put those together. So that one's kind of cool. This is what I think of when I see double exposure, but just because this is so trendy right now, to have this type of image if you're outdoorsy. And
you see it a lot, but it's just so cool looking that it looks fun to try.
Yeah. Now, Brian, do you have a camera that does this in camera, or would you want to try this with editing?
I believe mine does it in camera.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. I'd probably try both.
Yeah, you have different things available to you when you try to do it with editing versus just in camera. Like this looks like one that was done in camera.
Yeah.
How would you do that with the nature photo? Is that laying a texture over and then erasing some? Yeah, like that. I mean, they've erased a whole bunch of her. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's erasing plus a combination of blend modes.
Oh, blend modes might give it to you.
Yeah. And then whether or not you do it color, black and white, add a funky color toning to it. There's just so many options. But I see this kind of dark and moody black and white done a lot with this. A lot of Instagram with that. Those are all over Instagram. Here's another one that looks like an in-camera multiple exposure. So this is 2 different distances, right?
2 different people, right?
No, I think it looks
it's
like
the same eyebrows.
same person. Yeah.
Yeah,
same.
they look the same to me.
Yeah, I was looking at the lips.
One has hair, one doesn't.
Yeah, well, the hair could have been tucked to the side or tucked inside that jacket in the first one. And then it looks like in a ponytail in the up close one. So that would be interesting to do multiple exposures in your hair is different ways, or turn toward the camera with one expression, turned away from the camera slightly, or turned going the other way with a different expression. So like the comedy tragedy thing, like with theater, I don't know. Interesting. I did run into some that were like a diptych and triptych type of layout where they did multiple portraits and then put them next to each other, like in a little collage. This one reminded me of Brian. I was thinking about you in like your hunting gear.
Oh,
and the
okay.
sun coming in, you know.
Yeah, it looks like an old version of me. Yeah.
Well,
Kind of.
older, but like it looked like a hat and you're out hunting and like in a hunting blind and the light's coming through.
Oh yeah, yeah, it does. It does.
So more window seat ones, window light, showing angle from above or angle from the side, so you can see where the light is hitting the face in a different way. And then whether you want that to be bright and airy or if you want to try to make it look dark and moody. Here she has the curtains pulled close together. There's just a little sliver of light. So if you want that more dramatic look, play with pulling the curtains close together and just leaving like a little slice of light coming through. Except for my house where I can't get to any of the windows easily. So I'm kind of stuck with that. I have a million of the arm's length photos and me sticking my head out the window on a trip, taking a picture in the rear view. But I like the dramatic kind of the slice of light, and the dark and moody ones are where it doesn't show your whole face or there's some motion. This one was interesting, very dark and moody, just a little slice of low light coming through, exposed just for the highlights of the face. And no reflector on the side, so the whole rest of the face on the side is dark. You could even use some negative fill to make sure you're not getting any reflection on that part of the face, or just darken it down in editing afterward also. So I like this type of dramatic kind of portrait. Interesting.
We
So
have quite a few newbies that are, you know, that are our novice photographers in the group, or people who haven't photographed much. So you might want to take us back to some of the simpler things now.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that we've looked at some of the more involved ones.
You know, yeah, that you don't, it doesn't have to be.
Okay. So simpler stuff, just we want to remember all of that. Let me go back. We're going to get off of Pinterest and go back to the slides and pull up those basics again. So again, here was a basic setup. Look for window light. If you're going to do it in your home and you're new to photography, look for a window with a simple background area, or anything that's going to be busy is maybe further in the background. So if you used a shallower depth of field to focus on yourself, that stuff in the background will end up blurry. You want to look for indirect light. So not an east or west window, but a north or south if you can find it. If an east or west window is all you've got, pay attention to when the light is soft for that particular window in your home. And you may have neighbors that are blocking the sun on an east or west window. So maybe it doesn't matter if it's not north or south for you. Like I live in town, I live close to my neighbors. So my east and west windows have houses blocking them. I don't have sun streaming right in, except for certain times a year in the kitchen when it nails me in the eyeball when you're doing dishes, but only certain times a year. The rest of the time, the earth is rotated where it's not such a big deal. So check your windows at different times of the day, see how much light's coming through. You can try drawing the curtains, pulling the curtains back, blinds down, blinds up, blinds opened but down, and see how the patterns of light shine into your home. And if you don't have a person to stand by the window to do a stand-in for you, you could try a doll or a stuffed animal to see how the light falls, how far away from the window. Years ago, when I was very first learning photography, I had a mannequin head that I called Picture Patty. So she went everywhere with me, and we practiced photography everywhere. And then I gave her to somebody else. But a doll works great for that type of thing. Reflector, they're a great item to have. You can get them as cheap as like $20, but you could use a foam board, a poster board, a sheet, a sun reflector for your car, a tablecloth, all kinds of stuff. You could hang that up on some light stands. You could, if you have light stands, you probably already have a reflector. You could tape it to a wall. You could have somebody come in and help, just hold it up next to you when you're shooting. So human light stand type of thing. All of those things work great. Tripod is going to be pretty important, but even if you don't have a tripod, do you have a stool? Is there a piece of furniture you could drag over? Oh, Teresa's got to go. See you, Teresa. So if you don't have a tripod, think about, if you're in a bedroom, is there a dresser that you could pull over closer and you could put your camera on that? Maybe put the camera on the dresser using the lens you think you want to use and look through it and see how much area can I capture with this lens, putting the camera here. So even if you don't have a tripod, you can still make things work. And then going back to doing your brain dump or your mind map, get the ideas out of your head and onto paper, and then try to look for connections between there. If there are, maybe make a list of all the different photo techniques you've ever wanted to learn, or maybe just what you want the photo to look like. Make a list. And then if you don't know what techniques or settings to use to make it look like that, ask someone. I think that would be a great thing to do. Like, hey, I'm new. I want to make my photo look darker, like such and such picture. I want it to look like that. And I found a place in my home. I think I want to do it, but I don't know what settings to use. Can somebody give me some ideas? You could go about it that way. So just like make a list or take an example. So Sharm has to go too. Yeah, thanks Sharm for being here. So if you're new, those are things that you could do also. I want it to look like this, but I'm not sure how to accomplish it. How do I do that? There's the brain dump. There's the mind map again, if you've never done it. And some ideas. I've never done a reflection shot with a mud puddle. I know those, some people think those are cliche as well. But you know, photographers have been doing the mirror shot and doing this reflection in the window shot for decades. You know, over 100 years since photography's been around, photographers have done these. So why not? Anybody else have anything to add? Ideas, inspiration, concepts that you want to try? I'm not done a levitation either, but I guarantee you, you will not see Kris flying. No.
You were going to show us how to
Oh, Pinterest.
Yeah.
Pinterest. Okay, yeah, let's do that. Okay, so Pinterest, hit escape. And we'll pull Pinterest up. Pinterest is free. And so let me go back and just go in. You just go to Pinterest.com and sign up for an account. I'm just going to go ahead and point out, because you're going to see it anyway, I have a man candy board on my Pinterest account. It's okay. Dudes do it. Women can do that. All right. So you can name the board anything you want. And then you just pin things to the board. I even have like recipes on here, and I have Pinterest boards for specific clients where I was coming up with ideas specifically for the type of look they wanted. And then I would invite them to come look at the Pinterest board. Brides, oh my goodness. Thank goodness them having Pinterest boards is not so much of a popular thing anymore. Like 5 years ago, slow your roll, because it was crazy. So let's go, Pinterest.com is where you sign up for an account. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to do a Google image search. So I'm just going to type in self-portrait ideas. And then up here, you can click on images, or to search for images, you can just do images.google.com to search for images. And then I'm going to show you what it looks like where I pin things. So here's one that I pinned. When I go up, I have that extension on Chrome. And so there's a little red circle, or this comes up and it asks me which board I want to save it on. But you'll see P save, and it's the Pinterest icon. The little red circle with the scripty looking P is the icon for Pinterest. So I can click save, or if I want to choose which board it is, if I hover, it'll give me the option to choose a different board. I save it to self-portraits, and you can save things more than one time. So sometimes you have to go back through and get rid of your duplicates. So, and then here's another one, save, hover over it. There's self-portraits, and it always defaults to the last board that you used. So there, I've pinned it. Oh my goodness, I don't know what's going on there with the candy. This is interesting, cutting out words out of a magazine. And I can just, if I see it's on the board that I want to use, I just hit save. And I don't have to go in and use the drop down or anything like that. This is interesting with the flowers. I want to save it. I click save. Or if I hover, give it a second. I'll see it's not doing it. Okay. Save, and then I just hit close. And then I X out of the photo. There's one in a window. Now, this is right-clicking save to your computer, but I can go up here and click save. save it, close. And then I got to go get rid of it and keep going. Now, if you go on my board and you want to save it to your board, let me go on Pinterest. So you go on my board that I gave you a link to, self-portraits, you pull up the image and then you want to save it, you'll be able to save it over to your account to whatever name of board you want. Or you can just go look at the board that I made. Does that make sense? So if you want to make your own Pinterest account, you click on the link to look at my board and then you see this image and you're like, oh, I want to pin that. If you have a Pinterest account, you can pin it and name the board whatever you want to. So it's like an online bulletin board is basically what Pinterest is. And it doesn't save images to your actual computer. So it's not taking up space on your hard drive, which is really nice. So you can have just gazillions of inspiration images and not take up space on your computer. Any other Pinterest questions? Maybe the Google or the Pinterest extension for Chrome. So if you go on Google, you guys know what extensions are?
Yes.
Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said yes, okay. So just Google Pinterest extension for Chrome and you'll find it. And you just add it on as an extension and it'll get turned on in your Chrome browser. If you have another browser, I'm not a Mac person, so I don't use Safari. I wish I was a Mac person, I'm just too cheap. Pinterest browser button. So I could post this link over on the event page, how to install on Chrome, Firefox, Microsoft Edge, a couple different options. To get a browser button to save Pinterest images. So, and this is great for, you know, any kind of project that you want to do to get some inspiration images, not just the self-portraits. Is there anybody besides me that thinks that they want to do their self-portrait outside?
I would. I can't do it inside at my house.
Yeah. Do you have like not a good window light situation where you can't get to the windows very easily?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's me. Like, I love our couch, but it's a little large for our living room and it's right up against the windows and everything else is just, it's so segmented in our house. I don't have like a big open space. I wish.
We have
I
too much
definitely do
furniture in
love
our
outside.
house.
Yeah, me too. Too much furniture. Okay, anybody else, anything else to add, concept or something that you want to learn? How many people do we have that are beginners here? David, some of the stuff that you mentioned earlier, that didn't sound like beginner stuff. Janice? Is she there? Okay, I heard something, but then
Bernadette is in our novice. Yeah, Bernadette's in our novice. Irene is in our novice. Wolfgang is years and years of photography experience, but less on computers and that kind of thing.
And
So-
Wolf, you're
so
more of a
more
nature guy too, right?
Yeah, so this is a different idea for Wolf.
Okay. Janice, were you going to say something?
I am a novice.
Okay. What do you think about a self-portrait idea? Do you have anything?
I'm excited. I've actually had my iPad and my phone on while you've been doing this class and also searching on Pinterest and Google Images. So I'm excited to get out this week and try and probably do some outside and inside portraits.
Yeah, I have two cameras. So like Brenda, if I wanted to do a photo of me with my camera, that would be pretty easy, but I don't want to go for the easy option. I want to push myself a little bit to try something more, except for flying the levitation image. No, I would feel silly because I don't have a reason for flying. If I did it, I would make it me being silly. And I don't think anybody needs to see that. So I'm thinking, you know, something using some sort of technique, or showing me with a different interest that I have outside of photography. That's what I'm thinking. So I was thinking music because that's probably the only other thing that people know about me besides photography that would grab people's attention, that they would know about me. I could show me doing something music related, but if I do it here in my house, I'm going to have to use lighting and hoopla. And I don't like the thought of that. So keep it simple, but do something outside.
Yeah, I used my light setup on my last self-portrait. I don't know if you saw the one of me sitting in the Polynesian high back chair.
No.
With the Polynesian mask.
No, do you have it handy on your computer to show us?
It was under our mask competition. He was in a huge, like Polynesian king thing with a carved wooden mask.
Yeah, it was just something a little different. But anyway, that was in my basement, and I just set up my lighting and you know, did that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I could do something in my basement. I didn't think about that.
And in his face didn't show, so he had a little less trickiness with lighting and stuff. I mean, he lit the mask, but you know, you didn't have to worry so much about it like you would if it were
Bye, Danielle. Thank you for being here. She's posting in chat. She has to take off. Yeah. Okay, so yes, you don't have to necessarily show your face. I thought about maybe just zooming in and showing like a close-up of my hands playing an instrument or something. I think everybody would still know it's me. But that would be interesting too, to show the self-portraits, and then, you know, if the person doesn't show themselves, do we still know who they are? Yeah, I'm excited to try something else too. They're fun. I like to do them every once in a while. They're fun to do one. Yeah, I don't really have, unless I faked it, like a flash shining through like a curtain or something, and I faked having sun. I could do that, I guess. But I don't have any cute boho looking rooms in my house. It's all function here. So oh, there's one of my duplicates. Can delete the pen, so I don't have my duplicate of that, that image.
You have two of the guy with that go back up to the top. You've got two guys with that.
Oh yeah, with the funny bumpy wall. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I couldn't think of what to call the funny bumpy wall. Sorry.
Oh, so and two of this guy too.
Yeah, and also the little funny.
Several.
Two of those things that look like coconuts. See, peeking over the edge. Oh,
yeah.
The reflection. Yeah,
it was like a reflection on the table.
Yeah,
so
looks like a coconut.
Yeah, I thought that one was cute just because it was funny.
Yeah.
So that would, like, if I was going to show my personality in a photo, I liked that one because it was silly.
Kris, so I just want to remind everybody that our next presentation is April 6th. So it's action and motion photography. And Kris is going to be getting us ready for a wild thing competition topic. So she's going to show us sports and blur and stop action. So that's April 6th. And then April 20th is the club members are going to share how to make your picks. So if you want to volunteer for 8 minutes of showing your steps from beginning to end.
Now, with everything with this, remember that April 1st is the deadline for your self-portrait. So you want to get started right away, creating and coming up with ideas and trying to execute those ideas, maybe even trying to shoot something as early as this weekend, so you have time to really try things out and submit something by the 1st. I would love to see people actually submit things they shot this month for the self-portraits in by April 1st for competition.
And it's
Yeah, good advice.
April 1st at 10 p.m. So you have April Fool's Day too. So it's not due till 10, and it automatically closes at 10 p.m. There's nothing I can do to help you. It's part of the computer program. So
Get them in
you want to have your, so I get a lot of calls at 9:45, like, I don't know how to size my pictures. It's like, it's too late.
Yeah, I really would love to see something like this from Brian. He talked about wanting to do multiple exposures. I think that'd be so cool to see something of you in your camo with like an image of like some kind of woodlands or something.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah.
Oh, deer antlers.
I don't know if it'll be on this one, but yeah,
something to try.
Yeah,
I love that look myself. I that would be really fun.
Yeah.
Well, those are such different interests that Brian has. He's so artsy and then into hunting and all this other stuff. So
yeah. Yeah, I've definitely got enough hobby.
Yeah, well, creative people tend to be that way.
Yeah, that's true. I'm a hobbyist.
Maybe people will surprise us, and Teresa won't necessarily do something with books. Maybe she'll choose something else.
Yeah.
So, but that image immediately reminded me of Teresa. So yeah, and Wolf's got all that land out there, right? So he could do something even on his own property. So
that's cool.
See. So who knows? Maybe I'll choose something besides music and surprise everybody. I have to do some more brainstorming. I'll get to writing ideas down, because as long as it's circling around inside your head, at least I'm that way. It doesn't make it out. It just keeps circling the drain.
Thank you so much, Kris.
Yeah. Kris, also we need to try to get Basil to put in since it's the self-portrait one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm sure he would come up with something really creative.
He has never put in any images, and I think this time would be a good one for him to try it.
Yeah, it would.
I'll have to mention that to him or something. So
that and a long exposure, because he's really into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he would come up with something really creative. So I'll bug him about it. I got to get images to him anyway. We shot Biker Babe stuff on Sunday together.
Yeah, I saw that. It looked really good.
We drove all the way to little bitty town, Peru, Indiana, to do that.
Oh, yeah, I've been there. Yep.
So it was a good road trip.
Well, hey, thanks for doing this, and sorry I came in late.
No, it's quite all right. So there's, I'll get the, well, actually, I think I already uploaded it. The PDF is on there, and I'll get the recording on as well for people to have.
And yeah, and Brenda, is there anything that else that needs to be wrapped up for this one?
No, Brian, we've got people volunteered to provide some photos. Kris, I'm going to do that for you also for April. And we went through several of the meetings we have planned. And so we're in good shape. Does anybody that's still on have any questions for Kris or for Brian? Is our club president, for those of you that didn't know that. So he's on. Anybody have anything? Kris, thanks so much. Thanks for pulling all together all those inspirational photos for us.
Well, I hope it pushes us all in the right direction. So, and again, another reminder, go on the events tab and go under the workshop for tonight's date and put your conversation on there. So everyone who was here tonight, plus people who weren't able to make it, sees conversation related to this topic all grouped together.
Great.
Very cool.
Thank you, Kris.
All right. See you guys. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Bye-bye.